Hey, it's Jordan with Status Coup. The Democratic Party's goon squad is at it again, still blaming Bernie Sanders at this point, almost a decade later, for why Queen Hillary was never president. And I don't really want to relitigate 2016, but I think it's important to show you this because they're going to do it again if Biden loses. This is James Carville, infamous for helping Bill Clinton get elected. It's the economy, stupid. He's a corporate hack from New Orleans or Louisiana, tries to be an everyman, but really just your typical pro-corporate Democrat. Let's take a listen to him. Did a little media tour, and he is pushing that Bernie cost Hillary the election in 2016.
I don't want to relitigate 2016, but Bernie Sanders cost is a reason. It's one of the reasons that Trump is there. I think this is great that Nikki Haley is saying, our hats off to these Republican donors that continue to support her. When, you know, obviously she doesn't have that much chance, but every day that she's in there, every day that she's on the attack is a good day. And she's putting Donald Trump front and center. And you know, a lot of these billionaire Republican donors that I really don't care for very much, thank God. Yeah, I never thought, thank God for maybe the Koch brothers or something.
Nah, because I only care about those billionaire Democrat donors, not the billionaire Republican donors, who basically want the same things, but maybe one is a little less homophobic, or maybe the Democratic billionaires are, you know, a little less racist, but equally as tyrannical against the working man and woman, which I do like. Terrible James Carville impersonation, I admit. Well, he also said similar, I believe that this one was on CNN. Let's take a listen.
My hat's off to her donors. They hang it in there, and the longer she stays in, the happier I am.
Because it's better for the Democrats?
Well, sure it is. Look, Bernie Sanders really hurt Mrs. Clinton in 2016. No one likes these long, drawn-out primaries, and she keeps hitting him. And you know, if I hope this Quinnipiac poll is right, but it's taking some kind of toll.
James Carville, great to see you. Thank you so much for your time.
Appreciate you. Yeah.
So I'm not going to bother with getting into Nikki Haley. I've given my thoughts on her. She's George W. Bush with different parts and Dick Cheney with different parts. But this whole Bernie thing, and by the way, this is not like a defense of Bernie, because I'm not particularly happy with Bernie during the Biden presidency. Also not happy with his slowness in calling for a ceasefire, which he has not called for. He's called for a lot of things in terms of humanitarian relief, cutting off aid to Israel, but he has not called for a ceasefire. So he is not infallible. However, it infuriates me. And if you are somebody that knocked on doors in 2016 and 2020 for Bernie, phone banked, if you are somebody that donated money that you didn't really have, and they keep feeding this nonsense that Bernie staying in the race, or Bernie cost Hillary the election, or the Bernie bros cost Hillary the election. It's actually the opposite. I think it was even as close as it was because of Bernie Sanders voters. Remember, more Bernie Sanders voters voted for Hillary Clinton in the general election than Hillary Clinton voters voted for Obama in the general election in 2008. They don't like to say that. James Carville must have forgotten on that. Maybe he's at Mardi Gras and a little blurry down in Louisiana. More Bernie primary voters ended up holding their nose and voting for Hillary in 2016. Queen Hillary voters in 2008 in the primary, less of them ended up voting for Obama. Bernie Sanders did, I believe, almost 40 events for Hillary Clinton during the general election, losing, frankly, a lot of his supporters in the process who were disgusted by him going around the country, you know, saying things that were simply not true about Hillary Clinton. In the month of August and September of 2016, I believe Bernie Sanders did equal, if not more, events for Hillary Clinton than Hillary Clinton did for Hillary Clinton. And he is to blame for Hillary Clinton losing to an orange orangutan used car salesman? Are you kidding me? Give me a break. It is absurd, and it is the same propaganda, endless propaganda they use, saying Jill Stein cost Hillary Clinton the election, even though data has shown in the swing states, even if Jill Stein was not a candidate, if she was not a third-party candidate, it was just Hillary versus Trump, Hillary still would have lost. Don't take it from me. That was Vox reporting, Vox News reporting, based on studies that political scientists did. Hillary would have tied basically in 2 out of the 3 swing states, Pennsylvania, Michigan, and Wisconsin, tied Trump, which means you don't get the electoral votes, and she still would have lost to Trump if she tied in 2 out of 3 of those swing states. But they keep wanting to blame Bernie. Frankly, it's propaganda, and they're contradicting themselves because they all said Hillary staying in longer against Obama in 2008 made him a stronger candidate in the general election. You remember that? All of them have pushed that line that the tough primary, Hillary staying in till the end against Obama, it toughened him up and made him a better general election candidate. But when Bernie Sanders stays in longer, which you're allowed to do in a democracy, he cost her the election. Notice the MSNBC anchor, who is Biden's former press secretary, Jen Psaki, who's probably the heir apparent to Rachel Maddow whenever she steps away. She, by the way, is getting paid $30 million a year for one show a week. Let me repeat, $30 million for one show a week. So she doesn't push back, allows that propaganda to stand. CNN doesn't push back, allows that propaganda to stand. Why is this dangerous? Because right now, as I reported yesterday, Biden is losing in many polls in 6 out of 7 swing states or 7 out of 7 swing states. And in most of those swing states, he's losing by quite a bit, including Nevada, including North Carolina, Pennsylvania, Michigan, Wisconsin, Georgia, Arizona. Now, to be fair, because I don't want to only report on the negative polls for Biden, there was a poll that came out yesterday from Quinnipiac, which is a pretty accurate polling outlet, that found Biden ahead of Trump by 6 points in head-to-head, national numbers. So this isn't by the states, just the overall national. But Haley beats him by 5. What does this show us? Well, if the election were held today, Biden would likely win the popular vote, but still lose the electoral college, because when looking at polling, as I've always said, it's really not running for president of the United States. It's running for president of 6 or 7 states because of the fucked up, undemocratic electoral college system we have, which is one of the first things that needs to go along with money in politics if we're going to actually have a democracy. Because we should have the person, man or woman, who wins the most votes, wins across the board, not just for president. But Biden is doing better in terms of head-to-head, beating Trump by 6 and still losing to Nikki Haley. I think Biden would lose to pretty much any Republican, not named Trump right now. But if I'm the Democrats, I'm not really that heartened by those polls because, again, that's the national polling average. It is not the states. But why I played that James Carville clip, not to rehash 2016, it shows you they're already dusting off and warming up their excuses for if and when Biden loses. It could be that they blame the Russian boogeyman again. I don't know if they're going to go that route because I don't even know if their own voters would believe that at this point, even the diehard, like blue MAGA people. But they can say if Biden loses in Michigan by a close margin, or Pennsylvania by a close margin, or name your swing state by a close margin, they can say, oh, no, it wasn't that Biden wrote a blank check for Israel to commit genocide on Gaza and slaughter, at this point, over 30,000 innocent Palestinians. At this point, last time I checked, about 14 or 15,000 children. Just an ungodly, disgusting, horrific war crimes that, I don't know, even liberals used to be against, but I guess not anymore if Biden's the president overseeing it. Well, I shouldn't say all liberals were against. You get my point. But they're not going to say, oh, maybe he lost those states because he lost young voters and Arab Americans and a lot of other demographics of voters for this support of what Israel's doing. No, they'll basically say, well, Cornel West and Jill Stein, they took away, I don't know, a combined 1 to 2 points. Maybe they'll include RFK, who right now is polling better than Jill Stein and Cornel West. They're not going to acknowledge that it was Biden's own choices, policies, supporting war crimes. They're not going to acknowledge that he abandoned a few promises he made when he ran: $15 minimum wage, $2,000 checks, ending drilling on public lands. He's doubled drilling on public lands. Public option. It was Jill Stein. It was Cornel West. Even if RFK gets more, which he will probably, more votes than Jill Stein and Cornel West. Wasn't them. It was Jill Stein and Cornel West. Wasn't Biden. I'm telling you, save this video. That's what's going to happen. And CNN right now, they are showing, according to their forecasts, this would be the electoral map. Let me give it to you. Trump winning the Electoral College, 272. So you need 270. Trump at 272. Biden at 225. With Michigan going back to Trump. That is what we believe is going to happen based on the trends right now, particularly Biden losing the Arab American vote, or I shouldn't say completely losing it to Trump, but losing enough of those voters to make him lose Michigan. They have Pennsylvania and Wisconsin and Arizona as toss-ups, and Georgia they have going back to Trump. They have Nevada going back to Trump. So that's really all Trump needs. He needs to win back one of these three, one of Wisconsin, Michigan, and Pennsylvania. Looks like he, at this point, has a pretty good shot to win back Michigan. Georgia, Biden only won by 1 point. Trump could easily take that back. Arizona, I don't even think is a toss-up right now. I think it leans Trump, but even for argument's sake, he doesn't get that. Trump's going to win North Carolina. He's up by 10 points right now. And Nevada, Trump is up by 8 points. Remember, Nevada was hit hardest economically by COVID, particularly the Las Vegas Strip, which was shut down. So, boy, would I love to have a drink with James Carville one day and set him straight. We'll continue covering the propaganda and lies coming from the Democratic Party, as well as the insanity and hopes of wanting to be a dictator on day one from Donald Trump.